Parents wrongly accused and disowned me. Years later, truth emerged, and they deeply regret everything. But the past can't be changed. Be me, 29 years old, living in a medium-sized town outside Sacramento. Everyone knows everyone's business type of place. Have a cousin named David. We were super close growing up. Shared rooms at every family vacation until teenage years. Our moms are sisters. They made sure we spent every holiday together. David is getting married to Lucy. She lived 3 houses down from us growing up. Her family moved to our street when she was 8. I was 10 at the time. Our families clicked instantly. You know those neighbors who become basically family? That was us. Lucy's parents would watch me and David when our parents worked late. We had joint BBQs every summer. Lucy was like my little sister. She'd come to me for advice about boys in middle school. Helped her with math homework. More like we struggled through it together, LOL. Even taught her how to drive in my beat-up Toyota Corolla. Rip to my car's transmission. Obviously, when David and Lucy started dating in college, everyone was thrilled. It just made sense. They'd been dancing around each other since high school. Finally got together junior year. The whole family was like, finally. Not even exaggerating. Our grandma literally cried when they announced their engagement. Fast forward to the wedding day, July 25th, 2019, at this pretty nice venue just outside town. Nothing super fancy, but definitely nicer than my brother Ryan's backyard wedding the year before. Sorry, bro, but that portable toilet situation was rough. I'm one of David's groomsmen, along with his best man, Nathan, his roommate from college, and a few other guys. Morning started normal enough. Got there early to help set up, because that's what you do when favorite cousin is getting married, wearing this navy suit that cost way too much. But hey, wedding photos are forever. Had my groomsman boutonniere pinned on. Took like 3 tries to get it straight. Was helping direct people to where they needed to go. This elderly couple had asked me where the bathrooms were, like the 3rd time already. They were really sweet though. Definitely struggling with directions. Walking them over personally, because I'm not a monster. That's when everything went to hell. Hear this commotion behind me. Before I can even turn around fully. Wham! Got hit so hard I literally saw stars. Always thought that was just something people said in movies. But nope. Actual freaking stars. David came charging in. Nathan and couple other guys trailing behind him. David looked like rage and hurt and something else. All mixed together. He just started wailing on me. Not like one punch and done. This was full-on assault mode. I'm not a small guy. 6, 1 inch, and I hit the gym occasionally. But David works construction. He was just destroying me. The whole time he's screaming stuff. Like, how could you? And I trusted you. Meanwhile, I'm just trying to protect my face and figure out what the hell is happening. Nathan and 2 other groomsmen finally managed to pull him off me. By this point, I'm bleeding all over my fancy new suit. Rip to that too. Blood does not come out easily. My left eye is swelling shut. Pretty sure my nose is broken. The elderly couple I was helping. They're just standing there in shock. The woman was crying. I still feel bad about ruining their day too. Someone, think it was the venue manager, called for medical help. They wanted to call the cops too, but I managed to say no through my busted lip. Like, even though I had no idea what was happening, this was still David. We grew up together. No way was I getting him arrested. Ended up at urgent care place few miles away. Doctor kept asking if I wanted to press charges. While she checked if my nose was broken, fun fact, it wasn't broken, just badly bruised. Still have a tiny bump there though. She gave me this ice pack. So cold it almost hurt worse than the punches. Okay, not really, but damn. Those medical ice packs are no joke. That's when I got the text. You know those moments in movies where the character looks at their phone and their whole world changes? Yeah, it was one of those, message from my dad. Weddings canceled. Clear your stuff out of the garage by tonight. Quick context. I'd moved out years ago, but kept some stuff stored at my parents' place. Boxes of childhood memories, some sports equipment, photo albums, basically the stuff you can't fit in a small apartment, but don't want to throw away. Nothing major, but the way he said it, that's when I knew something was seriously wrong. Called my dad immediately, straight to voicemail. Same with mom. Sister wouldn't pick up either. Only person who answered was my brother Ryan. All he said was, "How could you do this to the family?" Before hanging up, I'm sitting in urgent care with an ice pack on my face, looking like I just went 10 rounds with a heavyweight champ, and nobody in my family will answer their phones. The nurse keeps giving me these sympathetic looks, while I'm trying to call everyone I can think of, probably thinking I'm some guy who got in a bar fight. At 11 a.m. wearing a suit. Yeah, finally decided to just drive to my parents' house. Quick side note, trying to drive with one eye swollen shut is not fun. Do not recommend. Had to keep turning my whole head to check my blind spot. Probably looked like some kind of deranged owl to other drivers. Pull up to my parents' place. Same house I grew up in. Typical suburban setup, with the faded blue paint. Mom's been promising to redo for like 5 years. My sister Jenny's car is in the driveway, along with my brother Ryan's pickup. And my parents' vehicles? Great. Whole family's here. This should be fun. Walk in through the garage. Still had my key at this point. Head into the kitchen. You know that feeling when you walk into a room and everyone stops talking immediately? Yeah, multiply that by about 1,000. Mom's sitting at the kitchen island. Dad's by the coffee maker. Jenny's on her usual spot on the counter. She's 25 but still sits there like she's 12. And Ryan's leaning against the fridge. First thing Mom does is gasp. Not like a subtle gasp. Full-on soap opera style. Oh my God, what did David do to your face? Then immediately follows it with, but how could you? How could you do this to the family? The whiplash from concern to accusation gave me an even worse headache than I already had. That's when they finally tell me what's going on. Apparently, I've been having this steamy affair with Lucy. Yes, that Lucy. The girl who used to make fun of my acne in high school. The one who helped me pick out my first real girlfriend's birthday present. The person who literally called me basically her big brother. In her college graduation speech, according to them, we'd been sneaking around for months. I literally laughed. Like, actually laughed out loud. Pro tip. Don't laugh with a split lip. Hurts like hell, but it was just so ridiculous. I couldn't help it. That's when Ryan, my own brother, who was best man at my wedding before my divorce, whole other story not relevant here, grabs this duffel bag from behind the couch and throws it at my feet. Get your stuff and get out, he says. Trying to sound all tough, like he's in some movie. The bag's got maybe half of my stuff from the garage. Found out later he just grabbed random things. Got my old baseball cards, but left all my photos from high school and college. Thanks, bro. I tried explaining. Obviously kept saying this was insane. Asking for proof. Trying to understand where this was even coming from. Dad just kept shaking his head. Saying stuff like, we trusted you. And how could you do this to David? Mom wouldn't even look at me. Jenny, who usually talks enough for the whole family, just sat there silent. Asked them what proof they had. Their response, we just know. That's it. That's literally all they had. No screenshots of texts. Because there weren't any, no photos of us together. Except, normal family photos from the last 15 plus years. Nothing. They just knew. The worst part, these are the people who know me. Mom and Dad who raised me to always tell the truth. Who literally grounded me for a month in 8th grade. When I lied about finishing my science project. Jenny who used to come to me with all her problems. Because I was the reasonable one in the family. Ryan who I helped move apartments 3 times. Because he's too cheap to hire movers. They all just decided I was guilty. No questions asked. I tried calling Lucy. Straight to voicemail. Texted her, no response. Called her parents' house. Yes, they still had a landline. Mr. Wilson answered. Told me if I ever called again, he'd call the police. Real Christian behavior there. Mr. Everyone deserves forgiveness, Wilson. Left my parents' house in a daze. Didn't even grab the bag Ryan threw at me. Just got in my car and drove. Ended up at Murphy's. This bar downtown. I'd been going there for trivia night. Every Thursday for like 4 years. The bartender, Greg, takes one look at my face and starts pouring my usual whiskey sour. Basic, I know. Then Nathan's college roommate walks in for his shift. Sees me. And suddenly, Greg's telling me I need to leave. Apparently, I'm not welcome there anymore. Cool. Real cool. Drove home to my apartment. Tried calling Lucy again. Nothing. At this point, my phone's blowing up. Texts from random family members and family friends. Everyone's got an opinion. Everyone knew we were too close. Suddenly, every time Lucy and I hung out or talked was suspicious. That time, I helped her move apartments after college. Obviously, we were hooking up. The fact that her boyfriend at the time helped too. Conveniently forgotten. Had to turn my phone off. Just sat there in my dark apartment. With a bag of frozen peas on my face. Ice pack from urgent care had melted. Trying to figure out how my entire life had imploded. In the span of about 6 hours. Called in sick to work for Monday. How do you explain to your boss that your face looks like a professional boxer's punching bag? Because your cousin thinks you're sleeping with his fiancée. Yeah, that's not a conversation I wanted to have. The next few weeks were absolute hell. You don't realize how interconnected your life is with your family until they all suddenly decide you're dead to them. Quick example. Tried to go to my regular gym Monday morning. Figured exercise might help clear my head. Guess who's there? David's workout buddy Kevin, who apparently now manages the place. Suddenly, my membership is being reviewed, and I should try a different location. It's like the whole town was playing this twisted game of 6 degrees of separation. Except it was 6 degrees of ways to screw over me. My regular coffee shop barista is Lucy's cousin's best friend. Local grocery store owner goes to church with David's parents. Even my freaking dentist canceled my cleaning appointment. His kid plays Little League with David's nephew or something. The work situation was fun too. Had to explain to my boss why I looked like I'd been in a bar fight. Tried to keep it vague. But Linda from accounting overheard, because of course she did, and by lunch break the whole office knew. Got called into HR, because apparently someone, thanks Linda, was concerned about my personal conduct. Had to explain to this 23-year-old HR rep that no, I wasn't engaging in inappropriate relations with anyone. While she looked at me like I was some kind of soap opera villain. Finally managed to get hold of Lucy after about a week. That first call was rough, like nuclear explosion level rough. Started with her screaming at me for ruining her life, and me yelling back about how my life was ruined too. But somewhere between the yelling and the crying. Yes, I cried. Judge me all you want. We actually started listening to each other. Turned out her side of things was even worse than mine. Her super religious parents had basically excommunicated her, like full-on, you're dead to us style. Her dad even called their priest to see if they could get her formally excommunicated from the church. Spoiler, that's not how it works, Mr. Wilson. Her mom had already packed up all her childhood stuff in garbage bags and left them on the front porch. Real classy. Lucy's work situation was a nightmare too. She was a project manager at this big marketing firm downtown, but her team lead was David's cousin on his mom's side. Suddenly, all her projects were being reassigned, and she was getting written up for being unfocused at work. Yeah, wonder why she might be unfocused. When her entire life was imploding, we started comparing notes over text. Calling felt too risky. Didn't want anyone overhearing and starting more rumors. Neither of us had any idea where these accusations came from. Every time we asked anyone for proof, they'd just say stuff like everyone knows, or it was obvious. Like what? What was obvious? The fact that we'd known each other since we were kids? That we could actually hold a conversation without it being weird? The one time I managed to corner David? Ran into him at the gas station. He couldn't exactly run away while pumping gas. His response was, I saw the way you looked at her. The way I looked at her? Are you kidding me? I looked at her the same way I looked at Jenny, because she was basically my sister. Remember that duffel bag of stuff from my parents' garage? Finally went back to get the rest of my things. About 2 weeks later, Mom had boxed everything up and left it in the garage. Didn't even label the boxes. Just threw everything in randomly. Found my high school graduation photos, mixed in with old Christmas decorations. My college diploma was stuffed in with some old sports equipment. Cool. Real cool, Mom. The social media fallout was fun too. Got blocked by pretty much everyone in the family. Lucy's sister, who I'd helped with her college applications, posted this vague status about snakes in the family. That got like 200 comments. People I hadn't talked to since high school were suddenly messaging me about how they always knew something was off about me. Started getting random calls and texts from unknown numbers. Apparently someone, pretty sure it was Lucy's brother, had shared my number in some family group chat. Had to change my number after getting bombarded with lovely messages, calling me everything from a homewrecker to, well, you can imagine the worst. The worst part, some of these people had known me my entire life. Mrs. Drake from down the street, who used to give me cookies every time I mowed her lawn in high school, crossed the street to avoid me. Mr. Peterson from the hardware store, who taught me how to fix a leaky faucet. When I bought my first apartment, suddenly his store was closed for inventory. Every time I tried to go in, Lucy and I eventually realized we needed to get out. This town was suffocating us. Everyone had already decided we were guilty, and nothing we said or did was going to change their minds. We couldn't even meet up to talk about it in person, because people would definitely see us and think it proved everything. Got real tired of defending myself against something I didn't do. How do you prove a negative? How do you prove something didn't happen? It's impossible. And apparently in the eyes of everyone we knew, the fact that we couldn't prove our innocence meant we must be guilty. After about 2 months of living like a hermit and having delivery drivers give me weird looks, pretty sure someone told them I was that guy, I decided enough was enough. Applied for a transfer at work. Thankfully, my company has offices in Boston. My boss was surprisingly cool about it. Probably just wanted to get rid of the office drama TBH. Lucy and I had our last conversation before leaving town. We decided it was better to go our separate ways. She picked Chicago. I took Boston. Kept in touch through Instagram, but that was it. Unfollowed each other on everything else. Just to be safe. Didn't need anyone's screenshots starting rumors about how we were still sneaking around. Moving to Boston was interesting. Try explaining to potential roommates why you're suddenly moving cities at 29 with basically no furniture. My first place was this tiny studio in Beacon Hill. That cost way too much, but it was mine. And nobody there knew my name or my story. Can't put a price on that kind of freedom. Started over completely. New phone number, new email. Had to abandon my old one after it got spammed with subscription signups. Real mature, guys. Even got rid of my old PlayStation account because some of David's friends kept sending me hateful messages through the gaming chat. Who does that? Work was actually pretty good. Nice thing about being the new guy, Nobody asks too many questions about your past. Just told people I needed a change of scenery. Not technically a lie, right? Threw myself into work. Started hitting the gym regularly. Different chain than my old one, obviously. Tried to build some kind of routine. Found this cool bar called The Anchor. That did trivia nights on Wednesdays. Different vibe than Murphy's back home. But the bartenders didn't look at me like I was Satan incarnate. So that was an upgrade. Started going regularly. Met some decent people. First time in months I felt like I could breathe. Then came the work BBQ that changed everything. It was summer 2021. One of those rare perfect Boston days, where it's not too humid and not too cold. My coworker Ben was hosting at his place in Cambridge. Almost didn't go. Still wasn't great with group social situations. But Ben had helped me figure out the T system when I first moved. So I felt like I owed him. That's where I met Claire. She was Ben's wife's friend from yoga class. Remember those moments in movies, where the main character sees someone, and everything else kind of fades away? Yeah, that's bull. What actually happened was, she caught me having an embarrassingly intense conversation with Ben's dog about proper frisbee throwing technique. Not my smoothest moment, but somehow that led to us talking. She was easy to talk to. Didn't do that Boston standoffish thing, where people are polite but distant. We ended up sitting on Ben's porch for like 2 hours just chatting about random stuff. She's into true crime podcasts. Yeah, I see the irony. And actually got my dumb jokes about Boston traffic. Started dating pretty quickly after that. Third date in, I knew I had to tell her everything. You can't build something real on lies, right? So I laid it all out. The wedding, the accusations, the family drama, everything. Figured she'd run for the hills. Instead, she just listened. Actually listened. Asked questions that showed she was trying to understand, not judge. When I finished, she just said, "That really sucks. Want to get ice cream?" And somehow that was exactly the right response. The weird part, she started following Lucy on Instagram. I'd mentioned keeping minimal contact. Turns out they're both obsessed with this podcast called Crime Junkie, and suddenly they're DMing about episodes. Next thing I know, they've started this virtual book club thing with some other true crime fans. They do Zoom calls every other week, with wine and snacks to discuss whatever they're reading. Lucy's life got better too. Met this guy Marcus through work in Chicago. He's some kind of architectural engineer who apparently doesn't know how to design without at least 3 monitors. Claire's words. They talk about random stuff in their book club. He seems decent though. Treats her well. Doesn't jump to insane conclusions. You know, the basics. Started feeling like maybe everything happened for a reason. Don't get me wrong. Still sucked losing my family and hometown. Still have days where I miss my mom's cooking, or wonder what my nieces and nephews look like now. But I've built something good here. Real friends who actually trust me. A girlfriend who listens. A life that's actually mine.